The guy had a pistol leveled at my wife's face, his grip shaky, veins bulging like he thought he was auditioning for a crime drama right in the middle of our front yard, and all this because she jogged past the HOA clubhouse without flashing ID. Before we go further, drop a comment with your country, curious how far this tale reaches. What he didn't realize, and what I would have loved to see crash across his ego, was that the woman he just tried to menace with a bargain bin Glock clone was a battle-hardened Delta Force operative who'd landed home from a blacked-out mission 48 hours earlier. Her rucksack wasn't even unpacked yet, and now she was staring down a neighborhood wannabe cop gripping a weapon sideways like a YouTube thug. I knew she could dismantle him with a shoelace and a plastic spoon, but, for once, she actually gave the clown a chance to stand down. He didn't. That's when it got fast. We moved here hunting quiet. My wife, who once disarmed live ordnance in the middle of a lightning storm, wanted peace, flowers, maybe hens scratching in the yard. I just wanted fiber internet and a finished basement to run my cybersec builds. What we found instead was an HOA that played army with golf carts. They called themselves the Home Safety Division, HSD for short. 4 black carts lined up outside the clubhouse, blocky lettering stenciled on the doors, blue lights zip-tied to the roofs. They looked like SWAT units if SWAT had cup holders and garden gnome stickers. At first, I thought it was satire, then I realized they were serious. The president, Karen Brewster, met us on move-in day with laminated badges and 3 clipboards. Her smile said, "I've never been told no." She handed us a rule book full of nonsense, stuff like grass shall not exceed 2.75 inches, and residents must avoid appearing intimidating while exercising. When I asked what that meant, she chirped, "You'll know it when you see it." That's when I knew we had a storm brewing. My wife just nodded politely, as if she hadn't spent last week yanking hostages out of a compound overseas. She's good at that, blending in, staying composed, but day 8 shattered it. She left for her run while I brewed coffee and logged into work. 10 minutes later, the cameras pinged me. At first, I thought, package delivery. But the feed showed 2 HSD carts blocking the road, and my wife standing stock still, hands hovering. Facing her was a paunchy 50-year-old in a tactical vest stuffed like a sausage casing, waving a pistol chest high and screaming about restricted jogging zones. That's when I realized these weren't neighbors enforcing lawn care. These were armed cosplayers who thought their cosplay outranked law. My wife wasn't about to let that slide. The guy with the pistol kept barking lines like he'd practiced in a mirror. "Hands higher! You're trespassing in a restricted zone." His voice cracked, betraying his nerves. Claire didn't blink. She tilted her head, bored, then spoke calm as glass. "Sir, under Florida Statute 79.10, brandishing a firearm in a threatening way is a felony. Think carefully about your next step." He blinked hard. No one had ever challenged him. "Don't you quote laws at me," he sputtered. "This is HOA jurisdiction." Claire actually laughed. "The HOA doesn't outrank the Constitution," she said, steady. "You've aimed an unregistered weapon at a civilian on private property. That's attempted assault with a deadly. If you're enjoying this HOA saga, like and subscribe, because it only escalates from here." 2 other guys in off-brand tactical gear stood behind him clutching batons they probably grabbed at a flea market. They shifted, unsure whether to join or retreat. That's when I walked out, coffee mug in hand. "Gentlemen," I said, "last chance to walk before this goes bad." The leader swung toward me. "Stay out, sir. This is an official home safety action." Claire smirked. "Official?" she asked. Then she moved. I've seen her spar. I've seen her drop opponents twice her size before I can blink. But seeing it on our front lawn was different. She sidestepped, clamped his wrist, twisted, and the pistol clattered across the pavement. In the same motion, she shoved him into his buddy, toppling them into the grass. The third guy, dumb or brave, charged with his baton. Claire ducked, swept his legs, and pinned him face down with her knee pressing lightly into his back. She hadn't even broken stride. Meanwhile, the so-called commander was doubled over, clutching his wrist and moaning. "You snapped it," he whined. Claire leaned down, her face inches from his. "No," she murmured. "If it were broken, you wouldn't be holding it. That was mercy." Curtains twitched, neighbors crowding their porches, phones raised to catch every frame. One woman gasped into her palm. Another whispered, "Isn't that Karen's squad?" And sure enough, Karen appeared, visor low, clipboard in hand, storming across the street, shrieking, "Arrest her! She attacked my officers! You all saw it!" Claire straightened, brushed her hands on her joggers, and met Karen's eyes. "Your officers?" she asked. "Lady, they're about to be defendants." That was the moment sirens howled. 2 sheriff's cruisers slid in, lights blazing, sending the crowd scattering like startled birds. Deputies climbed out, hands hovering near holsters, scanning the circus on my lawn. 3 men sprawled in mismatched tactical vests, one whining, one groaning, one pinned under my wife's knee. "Drop the weapons," a deputy barked. "Already done," I said, pointing to the pistol glittering on the pavement. Claire stepped back smoothly, posture calm, every ounce of training visible. Karen lunged forward, waving her clipboard like it was a badge. "Officers, arrest that woman. She's unstable. She assaulted my licensed security." The deputy nearest her frowned. "Licensed security? Ma'am, these men are impersonating law enforcement." He glanced at the pile of wannabes. "You understand impersonating an officer is a felony under federal law?" One of the thugs cracked instantly. "It wasn't my idea. Karen paid us. She said it was legit." Karen's jaw dropped. The deputies cuffed the 3, rattling off charges: brandishing, impersonation, assault, conspiracy, trespass. Karen tried slipping backward, but another deputy caught her arm. "Not so fast. You're coming too. Did you think staging an armed raid wouldn't attract attention?" Karen's face turned blotchy red. "This is harassment. I'm the HOA president. You can't do this." The deputy just shook his head. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for solicitation, conspiracy, and aiding impersonation of law enforcement." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few neighbors even clapped. I folded my arms, a grin finally creeping across my face. "Should have stuck to nasty emails, Karen." Claire strolled over, picked up the mug I'd left on the porch rail, and handed it back like nothing happened. "Told you it'd be quick," she said. Watching Karen shoved into the back of a cruiser was sweet, but what came later was sweeter. The HOA called an emergency meeting, and within a week, Karen was stripped of her title. Pending felonies, fines, and lawsuits from furious residents left her finished. Her officers didn't fare better, denied bail, facing years. The HOA itself was ruined, no one daring to touch leadership again. Neighbors stopped by daily, thanking Claire, shaking her hand with awe. Some had guessed she'd served, but none imagined she was still active Delta Force. That evening I leaned on the porch rail, watching the sun sink. "Think they'll try again?" I asked. Claire sipped her tea, smirked, tugging her lips. "If they're dumb enough. But trust me, after tonight, everyone knows the HOA picked the wrong family." From then on, the HOA lived under one harsh reality.